You're listening to the On the Bounce podcast, the show that is the ultimate source for all MLS fantasy news, tips, and everything else you need to dominate your leagues. Me, I'm JK, and I'm joined as always by my two hosts, Brady and Jarvis. Together, us three make up On the Bounce, and we're here to give you the best advice we can, along with some pretty great entertainment. Now, with all this out the way, let's jump right into today's episode. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to episode 19? Yeah, episode 19. It's been a long week. I hope you guys are liking this new format we're hitting you with. I think we're going to stick to this for a little bit. You guys have seemed to like it. The numbers are looking a little bit better. Maybe that's just organic growth. But we're hitting you with these normal 1 day a week on every Wednesday. So we get you these double game weeks. We get you all caught up on the last week and everything you need to know for the upcoming week in MLS fantasy. So you know me, I'm JK, Joey, and you know who I got with us? It's the whole gang again today. Josh Jarvis is here like last week. What's going on, bub? How you doing?
Call me the Hog from now on, and I'm doing fantastic.
Josh the Hog Jarvis is here.
Hog.
He's
Correct.
Literally hungry. He's got the hog on him. And making his appearance back again after a little brief hiatus last week, it's Brady, Gravy the Gaffer. How are you doing, bub?
The Gaffer's back in town. I'm doing great. It's great to be back on the best damn podcast in the land.
In the land. I mean, we're lawless, we're ruthless, and we're not toothless. We got all of ours. Well, maybe Gaffer is, but I got most of the teeth in my head. But we're back again, like I said, on these one-a-week episodes. If you guys are out there listening to us, hit us up over on Twitter, @OTBounce. Let us know if you like this type of format, or if you preferred the old one where we did the Monday and Friday episodes, or Tuesday, Friday episodes. But anyway, what we're going to do today is we're going to jump right in and kick you off with the little Week 12 recap, hit you with winners and losers, go over the MLS week that we just witnessed, which was a wild one again, and then we're going to wrap it up with the meat of the podcast, where we hit you with the MLS Week 13 look ahead, the key starters of the week, the key matchups, and the captain's choice. So all that good stuff. So before we jump right into it, just a little bit of world news, some U.S. men's national team news. We finally got the Gold Cup roster announced. Now, this was the first one. They can still make a little bit of tweaks here and there, but the 40-man roster was released. Anything either one of you two want to mention real quick, or anything weird or crazy you saw or that you're hyped about, or if you're just hyped in general for the national team stuff? Go ahead, kick it off.
Very hyped. I was hoping that Garza would make it.
Yeah, he did make it, but, his calf didn't make it because he's made of glass, sadly. So that's a bummer, and we haven't really heard anything yet, but, if you limp off from a non-contact and you're beating the ground in pain, I'm sure it's not the best news.
Right.
But yeah, that sucks for FC Cincinnati for sure, and for Greg Garza, I'm sure. But yeah, there was a couple weird surprises. For me, the big one that stuck out was Bill Hamid getting the snub. The man's been balling, but they left him out. Maybe it's because he was, a couple months back, he was like, listen, I'm literally the best American goalkeeper. Brad Guzan, he can't serve me my dinner. And maybe that's why. So, who knows? But that was definitely the big thing that stuck out to me for that roster. Anything else you guys want to add on that?
I think that there's a center back spot that a few people are going to be fighting for the actual final roster, so that'll be fun to watch and see who.
Since Brooks didn't make it. Yeah, that's going to be very fun. I'm real hyped for the Gold Cup. It's always fun. Every 2 years you get to see, the U.S. play a bunch of good teams. Now, there was a little bit of controversy. Tim Weah was on the U20 for the U20 World Cup, and a lot of people think the U20 World Cup's going to have more, better talent to play against than, the CONCACAF people. But, it'll be fun to watch both regardless. I'm real hyped to see what the national team looks like after a little bit of turmoil, not making the World Cup. So, it'll be fun. But that's just a little bit of world news we wanted to talk about real quick, because, we are an MLS soccer football podcast, so it all ties in, of course, when it's about our country, our homeland. So that's pretty much the only news that's happened. Nothing else crazy in MLS. No more firings, no more hirings yet. Nothing like that. So let's jump right into the MLS Week 12 recap. We're going to quickly just touch on the wild week of MLS. Not too much fantasy yet, but just kind of some overall what was going on. So any of you two want to kick it off real quick? Jarvis, you want to start with anything crazy you saw?
Clearly, Wondolowski.
Yeah.
What a showing.
That happened.
Yeah, he's been actual garbage all year. Yeah. And then to come out and put, what was it, 4? I think, it was 4.
4 goals.
He had them all.
Oh, my goodness, man. You can't. It was like a Hollywood script, boys.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, he's been chasing the ghost of, Donovan for a minute, trying to break the MLS goal record, and then he scores one early, and then he only needed one more to break it, and he got, 3 more, so it was wild. But yeah, definitely he showed that he's still got some gas left in the tank, so it'll be fun to see if that kind of ignites him. Who knows what'll happen? But yeah, that was definitely the big storyline. Brady, anything else you want to add to that crazy week?
Yeah, we were hoping to see some fireworks from Toronto, but 2 goalless matches in the double game week. That was surprising. That was disappointing, to say the least.
Very. And you could, to add to that, you could definitely make the case it's because they've played, 4 games in the last 2 weeks? Right. They've had back-to-back, so thanks MLS for that schedule.
Yeah. Probably because they had, no games in the first 4 weeks.
Literally. Yeah, they're probably just what's happening?
They got boned by MLS scheduling, but it's still disappointing. I was hoping to see some big points coming from that.
Yeah, it was a weird week overall. Kind of like the MLS has been all season. That's why a lot of people like this, because it's really unpredictable as a league.
Truly, yeah.
You never know, if one of the best teams is going to lose to one of the worst teams, or, if these two, pretty much every game that we've predicted would be oh, this is a shootout. This is going to be 4-4. It's always 0-0. Yeah. Nothing happening. Okay, thanks. You're making us look really good, MLS. Because, who on earth, we just talked about Wando, he scored 4. Who the heck was going to guess that? Or Real Salt Lake dumping on Toronto 3-0. It doesn't make sense.
FC Dallas played really well against LA all weekend as well, LAFC.
Yeah, both games they played
3
well.
3 goals total in 2 games, which is
and
fantastic.
Picked up a draw in the second one.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Definitely good. And the one we don't want to talk about, but, it was real
close.
weird. Well, we got to talk about Orlando at least, because randomly they said, here's 5 goals, so... there's that.
Yeah.
So that happened. Another MLS unpredictable thing that, who would have thought struggling Orlando was just going to be here's a 5-piece real quick. And I'm glad that all 45 fans in attendance got to witness it. Shout out to them. That was rough. But yeah, and the only other thing I want to add is how randomly terrible Columbus has been the last 6 weeks.
Yeah.
They haven't won in a good fashion in a minute. I think, they beat the Galaxy last week or 2 weeks ago, but since then, man, that's been a rough stretch for them. So that's weird because they were one of the most on-fire teams in the first couple weeks.
Right. They're currently not even in the playoff. They're outside the playoffs right now looking in.
That's rough. Yeah, that's rough. So it's been a wild start to the season.
I thought that Galaxy game looked like a kickstart for Columbus, but they just did not look good at all this last week.
Nope. And we can't not mention Colorado finally got their first win on the season, and it was against the Galaxy. So shout out to the Rapids, and it was Brady's boy, young Shinya Shiki, getting the game winner. The young boy.
The guy's clutch. You can't deny that.
Truthfully, he came in with 15 minutes left and said, let me get you this goal, lads.
Truly clutch.
It was big. It's definitely fun that, the last winless team finally got 3 points. And, they've got a couple draws, so maybe they'll start turning it around with their interim coach and looking for their new one. So that'll be fun to watch. Yeah, but it was another wild week, like we've said. And it definitely showed that when it came to fantasy for Wild Weeks, because it was weird. If you listen to our last week episode, it was another big double game week. You had a ton of teams, actually 10 teams that played twice. But the average score for fantasy last week was 90. That's not a lot. I think in one of the first couple weeks of the season, that was the average scores were in the high 70s, mid 80s. So not a lot going on. You had a couple people really let you down. We did kind of warn you guys, though, last episode, that there wasn't kind of a clear-cut team or two that were going to just be set in stone to get clean sheets. You know what I mean? That's the bread and butter points on double game weeks. You got a defense that looks like they could get 2 clean sheets, lock it in, and that's a GG. But it was just weird. So, of course, we're going to get into that more as we keep going on. And let's go ahead and segue right into that. We'll kick it off with the last week's winners and losers. And as you guys know, with the new format, if you're, been listening the last couple weeks, we're going to kind of keep it short like normal so we can give you the big part of the episode with the next week matchups. So we're just giving you 1 winner, 1 loser each, but there's 3 of us, so there's plenty to go around. So Jarvis, kick it off. Who is your big winner of the week?
My big winner of the week is going to be Big Brad Guzan,
the
goalkeeper for ATL. He had him a pretty good week. game 1 against Vancouver, he was able to get the big clean sheet. And he didn't play bad either in game 2 against the Red Bulls.
Yeah.
2 games in a week, and they let him 1 goal. You take that all day long. Excuse me. But yeah, ATL's backline looked really good. Brad looked good in net. We know how talented he is. And he struggled a little bit in the early season, but he's really, really been on fire. That was like...
Yeah. That was a new MLS record when they kept that clean sheet in the first game for the most minutes allowed. Yeah, and it was like some MLS record where it tallied over some ignorant number of minutes without letting a goal in. So they've been killing it, of course.
Yeah, and I mean, to let in 1 goal against New York is kind of fine. I mean, they obviously weren't playing full strength because they just came off that game. And they have some pretty favorable matchups coming up. Real Salt Lake, Minnesota, Chicago. So Brad is definitely someone, he's expensive, but if you've had him all year, keep rolling him out every week. He's getting them clean sheets, and he's getting you points.
Facts. It was definitely a bit disappointing how they let in that goal because they were... Red Bulls only had 10 men for like most of the game, but it was ugly. But like you said, they're another team like Toronto that played 4 games in the last 2 weeks. Like I don't get the scheduling at all, but definitely been balling just like Atlanta's back line. Brady, who's your big winner this week?
All right, lads, big winner this week. I'm going with one of Joey's boys from the first episode of the entire show. This has been one of his boys, the Tesho Train, Tesho Akindele. Had a double game this week, didn't play in one, but he only needed one to knock in a brace against FCC, 1 in each half. My guy finished with 13 points. He's currently sitting at $6.2 million in value after this week. He struggled this year, but he's flashed his sauce quite a few times. He's battled with injury, but you got to keep an eye on this guy because, I mean, Joey's been telling you about him for a minute, but this guy's loaded with talent. And if Orlando City can start strapping together some wins, and if Nani in the middle keeps connecting this offense and Akindele gets in there, watch out for this man because he could have a real impact in fantasy, and he's a great value right now, only 6.2 mil. So keep an eye. This man was a winner this week. The Tesho Train.
That's a big one. I really like if Orlando and James O'Connor really just put that lineup together because that's the only thing that fans have really been banging. Like their stars don't play together.
Right.
But if like Tesho and Dom Dwyer and Nani all play together, dog, that's 2 big meat boys up top for Nani just to deliver the ball to. Because those 2 are huge. They are creatures. So I like that pick a lot. Tesho balled out.
Yeah, boy.
Sadly, it was against your boys, FCC. But, it happens. So moving on to the third winner of the week, that is my pick, and it is Big Memo Rodriguez. Now, if you've listened to us since day one, this has been an OTB favorite. We've all talked about Memo. We all made sure you got the memo. And for some reason, we like him more than Houston does, his own club. He plays weird, sporadic minutes. He usually doesn't get the start, but he always comes in as kind of like a super sub. But on the season, he's got 5 goals, 2 assists, and he's averaging 6 points in fantasy. And per 90, he's averaging 9. Like, he's a dog, but he just sometimes doesn't get the full 90 minutes. So as you know, he was in the double game week. He was in my starters of the week last week, and if you played him, you wound up with a big 18 points from him. He had 7 points in the first game against Portland, and then 11 points in the second game against DC United. So another nice showing from Memo. He actually got to play a good amount of minutes, so hopefully Houston can kind of start getting him up in that starting 11 more and more. But then again, why would they believe me? They are one of the hottest teams in the MLS. They're 7-2-2 on the year, and I really think they're just kind of getting disrespected because they're balling. So shout out to Houston, shout out to Memo. They're both winners this week. They put in a good shift over the last week of MLS action. So now, people that didn't put in good shifts, the losers of the week, we never want to talk about them. Sometimes we do, depending on who it is. But Jarvis, kick it off. Who is your first loser of the week?
My first loser of the week is Kelvin Leerdam. So I know we've touched on this before in the previous weeks, but yeah, he's really struggling.
Yeah.
I know, like earlier in the year, we were really big on him because of his ability to get involved in the attack, score, assist. But he's quickly became clean sheet dependent. Pretty like that's really the only reason you're playing him at this point. And for $7.6 million, you can find other people that are clean sheet dependent. If you're feeling strongly about the team's going to get a clean sheet, but he hasn't looked like he's been able to get involved in the attack and really produce anything. So he's someone I'm going to be staying away from and definitely selling. I mean, he's up 2.6 mil in the year, so if you had him for a while, you've made some money off of him, but it's sadly time to let go of Kelvin Leerdam.
Yeah, it's definitely sad, and I think lately he's been way more in the losers of the week for us than he is in the winners. And it's pretty much just like, or it's why you just said, it's kind of like every team in the MLS figured out quickly, like, he's going to get into the box a lot, so we should probably start marking him. Because those first couple weeks, he was like trailing like Vela in the top scoring in MLS points, which was ignorant, but he's definitely becoming clean sheet dependent, which is not good, as we know. So I'm with you. Big loser of the week for Kelvin, sadly. Brady, over to you. Who is your loser of the week?
Kind of a similar pick as Jarvis, a defender who was supposed to be an offensive hound all year. And it's been my boy. And I mean, you got to cue the sad violin music at this point, because
right in the heart.
I made a bad call with Nick De Leon. I trusted him, and I shouldn't have. My guy has been diminished. His minutes have been diminishing over the past month or so. He's not getting the lineup. This week, he had the double game week, including one match against his former team, DC United, where he came out in the press, and he was like, I can't lose this game. I got to get the W against my former team. He leaked it to the press, and he didn't perform. He only played 65 minutes over 2 matches, only had 3 points. And it's time to sell. It's time to move on. He's no longer a valid player to throw in your lineup. Even at the value of $6.1 million, I mean, he's had 1 point in 4 of the last 6 weeks. It's just time to move on for now. I'll always keep an eye on him, and I'll always love him deep in my heart. Nick De Leon, he's a loser.
It's sad, and oh man, to keep on that trend of people, one, that we love, and a Toronto boy, my loser of the week is Pozo, Alejandro Pozuelo. And you can kind of not call him a loser of the week if you want to, because he did get you 12 points, but he was supposed to be, going off. He had that double game week, and he put up all 12 points in the first game, because in the second game, he got sent off with a spicy red card. So shout out to Pozo. He's out for the next week, so keep that in mind. And the thing that kind of, what I really want to say is the loser, and to add on to Brady's, is it's Toronto. Over the last 4 games, they've only scored 1 goal, and there was a crazy stat in that first game of week 12 where they played against DC. They had an MLS record. They had 26 shots and didn't score. 26! They were just shooting like crazy. Some of them weren't the best shots, but man, it's really over the last couple weeks, especially with big boy Josie being out, it really seems like Toronto's new game plan is give the ball to Pozo and see what happens. You know what I mean? Like, he's just getting mugged. He's getting, like, double, triple teamed. No one else is doing anything. But they got to figure that out because they are fantasy dominant when they actually are on fire. And they've been cold lately. So it'll be fun to see what they do without Pozo this week and maybe still without Josie. It might be a really rough week for Toronto fans. So that is the winners and losers of the week. If you agreed or disagreed with us, hit us up over on Twitter at OTBounce. Let us know why. Get those Twitter fingers typing because we want some action, boss. Trust us, we want it. So moving on to a big spicy segment. That is the hidden gems. We give you these guys that are on the lowdown, that either exploded, that are still under the radar, or just really cheap beasts that are always performing well and could just keep steady making you profit. And as we know, MLS Fantasy is all about solid investments and making your bankroll grow. So Jarvis, kick it off. Who is your big undercover hidden gem this week?
So my hidden gem is Drew Moore. Remember the name. Love the name.
Okay.
I'm going to say he's taken Nick De Leon's spot in Toronto. He's a defender. So he's a bit of a veteran. He came into the MLS in 2014. And up until 2018, he was pretty much an everyday starter. He came through Colorado and then started playing for Toronto in 2016. But in 2018, he tore his quad, and he only played 8 games. And then this year, he started the year healthy. He played the first 4 weeks and played fairly well and then got injured again. And he's coming back off injury. He played both games this week, a full 90. He looked really good, was able to contribute in that clean sheet against DC, and played decently well against Real Salt Lake. But he's going for $6.3 million right now, which is a pretty good price for a team like Toronto that I think that they're going to see more clean sheets this year. And I think Drew Moore is definitely going to be involved in a lot of those. So, yeah, they play, let's see, San Jose, Vancouver. I mean, those are both pretty good games. I'm going to be rolling Drew Moore out. I'm going to be cashing up on him a little bit. And we'll see how he plays his next couple of weeks. Hopefully he can stay healthy.
Okay. Definitely a sneaky one to keep an eye out for. I'm not mad at it at all. I might be mad at it.
Nick DeLeon's mad at it.
If he takes his job, I'll cry. But it's Nick DeLeon. You can't get rid of him. He can play like 11 positions. Where do you want me, coach? Put me somewhere. I like it. It's a sneaky start on a good team. Well, potentially a good team if they can turn it around. Brady, over to you. Who's that big old hidden gem for you, bub?
You know, I got someone who you guys may have heard of.
Okay.
He's only $4 million this week. He's a striker, plays on San Jose. He's been there for a while. But he put up 23 points this week and scored 4 goals. I'm talking about Chris Wondolowski. I had to throw this guy as a hidden gem. He only cost $4 million, and he scored 23 points. I mean, he was the big story of the week. So I didn't want to, I got a 2-pack for you is what I'm trying to say. I got another option. But, I mean, $4 million for Wando this week against the Fire. He broke the all-time MLS goal record, as we mentioned, a U.S. legend. And, congrats to the GOAT. But a little bonus hidden gem for you guys this week. If you're looking for someone to play next week, how about David Accam? I mentioned him earlier this year. A guy who used to be kind of a staple in the MLS. Recently traded to the Crew, played the full 90 last week. Didn't do too much, but this man has the talent to really break through and help out the Crew's struggling offense. And this is a really solid matchup against the second worst defense in the MLS in the Colorado Rapids. So, I got a little bonus hidden gem for you guys. David Accam, keep an eye on him. But Chris Wando, the man with the hidden gem from last week.
I like him. Definitely couldn't gloss over Wando, especially with his price tag, because we did say it. Maybe that kind of sparked his season. Who knows?
Hell.
But yeah, I like that Accam pick. And we mentioned earlier, Columbus has been struggling. Zardes only has 1 goal in the last month. So it'll be fun to see where they slot Accam, if they bring him in off the bench, or if they run 2 strikers, or if they throw him on the wing. So it'll be fun. I like that pick. Definitely someone to keep your eye on. And my hidden gem of the week is a big sea bass. His name is Sebastian Saucedo, over from Real Salt Lake.
A saucy sea bass?
A saucy sea bass. Literally, trademark it, and give us our royalties, MLS. Shout out to him. He is a defender for Real Salt Lake. He's only going for $4.8 million, and he's been playing, of course. Shout out to Jesus Christ one time.
Oh God!
Shout out to the saucy sea bass one time.
There's a lot of sauce being spilt right now, lads. So hopefully you can clear a path and steer through the sauce wave that we're spilling. But Sebastian Saucedo, to get you back on track, $4.8 million, a solid defender all season. He's kind of been turning it around lately. He had 7 points back in week 11 and 15 points, in week 12. And this was because he had a clean sheet, an assist, and a goal in 70 minutes. So he absolutely went to work in the little amount of time that he got. And really, he's been a guy that's been starting, been on the bench, been starting, been on the bench. So it's someone to just keep an eye out for. And if you're looking for something last minute as the lineups are being set and being posted out on Twitter, just keep an eye out for him, because when he does play, his per 90 in fantasy is 8.5 points per game. So he's definitely got to take your peepers at and post them right on them. $4.8 million, get you a saucy sea bass in your life. Trust me, it's delicious. All right, call me the chef, because I'm cooking it up all day, lads. It's big. So there's 3, or actually 4, big hidden gems for you. Wando, Drew Moore, Accam, and a saucy sea bass. So hopefully you guys are, you're feeling pretty good about those hidden gems, because trust me, I am. I'm full after that sea bass. So moving on to the big part of the podcast, that is the upcoming week, MLS Week 13. So here are the matchups that you need to know. This is a key matchup of the week, so we're going to hit you with, the game that we think is going to produce some good fantasy points, or, exploiting some things, like a bad defense, a bad offense, something like that. So Jarvis, kick it off. Who is your fantasy matchup to watch out for?
So I'm going with the big game tonight, the Red Bulls versus the Whitecaps.
Yes.
So I think this is going to be a weird game. I'm leaning toward the Red Bulls on this. I think the Red Bulls have potential to be able to, put some goals in this game for sure. And I think they could even get a cheeky clean sheet in this. Vancouver is not playing very well currently. But another reason I picked this game is because we always talk about double game weeks. And these two teams have a double game week this week. And the Red Bulls have two good matchups against Vancouver and then FC Cincinnati. So I'm starting 3 Red Bulls this week, wherever you want to put them. The goalkeeper, Rob Moore, a.k.a. Rob Less, is not a bad option. I think that's who I'm going to be rolling out this week. A couple of defenders even. I'm going to talk about one later. But, yeah, I like this game tonight especially, but I think both the games this week for the Red Bulls have potential for them to even get clean sheets.
Yeah, I'm there with you. That's the team that definitely has the better matchups for the 2 this week, and the Red Bulls are a team that just play great at home, and especially against Vancouver, I think that's definitely got clean sheet potential for sure, so I like that. Brady, over to you. Who is your matchup this week?
I'm digging Philly versus Portland this week is my matchup of the week. Philly with the second highest scoring offense in the MLS against the bottom 5 defense in the Portland Timbers. I think this matchup has a lot of high scoring potential on both sides, really. Portland has the potential to score some goals. They've only put up 14 so far this season, but I can see them. They've got the talent on offense essentially to put in some goals. So I'm seeing this as a prime opportunity for some goals. I'll go into some great options a little bit later on. I don't want to give away my cards too early, but I think this is a great matchup. Keep your eye on this matchup, boys. This is a good one.
Literally, you just put the OTB curse on it. Incoming 0-0, lads. That's just every time we talk about a shootout. No, but I'm liking that because, and, as we go on later, of course, I also have some good options in that game because I think that is going to be a good one. We've talked about Portland all year. On paper, they should be one of the better teams in the MLS. They haven't really figured it out yet on the field, but, they've definitely had some times this season where they looked as good as they should be. So I like that matchup. I like both so far. And hopefully the listeners out here like the third one. And that is my pick. And it is probably one of the worst picks, but I think it's going to be fun for fantasy. That's the Colorado Rapids against the Columbus Crew. So as we were talking about earlier, the Rapids finally got their first win on the season, so they're going to be feeling pretty good. They finally got 3 points, and now they play against a team who I mentioned earlier is kind of struggling. Like Brady said, Columbus is out of the playoffs, and obviously the Rapids are with, just a mean 1 win on the season. So it'll be really fun to see, is this a game where Columbus just really goes all in out, and the coach is telling them okay, boys, this is a team that we just have to smack, you know what I mean, get your sauce back, absolutely go out there and pound? Or is this the game where the Rapids now are just riding high and they're okay, let's keep the wins rolling? So it'll be fun because I really think both teams are just going to be on the attack and really trying to get 3 more points. So I think that's going to be a fun game to watch. Definitely could be some fantasy gems in there, like Brady was mentioning with a calm. Zach Steffen could be a good shout if the Rapids slump right back to their normal selves. So that'll be a fun one. So there is our 3 key matchups of the week. Keep your peepers on them, and it'll be a fun MLS week. And now rolling on to the fantasy starters of the week. This is where all 3 of us give you 3 key starters we think you gotta have in your starting 11 for fantasy. And of course, we're gonna load you up with some double game weeks, like Jarvis was saying. Tonight, as you guys are listening, the Red Bulls take on, is it the Whitecaps?
The Whitecaps.
Yes, the Whitecaps at 8 p.m. in New York, aka New Jersey, because they lie. And then both of those teams do play twice. So it'll be a fun week. Another double game week. It's been hectic, but I love it. So why don't we switch it up real quick for the last ending? Brady, hit us with your first key starter of the week.
I'm kind of differentiating. I'm taking the different road from what Jarvis was saying a little earlier. I'm liking the Whitecaps this week.
Okay.
I think they have the better matchups, and I'm throwing 3 of my guys in there. I'm
be
going with the
bettable.
double game week for Daniil Henry. Perhaps. I'm going with the double game week for defender Daniil Henry and the Vancouver Whitecaps. He is questionable play, so quick asterisk to this statement. So keep your sharp eye on these lineups if you're considering him. But this man is a defender who plays up on offense. This guy's taken he's taken Nick DeLeon's spot in my heart, to be honest. I mean, he's got 2 goals, 1 assist on the season. With the double game week here, there's some great potential for some high scores from Daniil. He'll cost you $8.2 million, but I think that's well worth it considering that they got the double game week. And he's put up double digits 3 times this season. He's been a great option all year, pretty much, on really a lackluster Vancouver team up until this point, who has only lost 1 game in their last 6 matches. I'm on the Vancouver train a little bit here, boys. I'm thinking they're hot. They're hot and bothered, and they're ready to come in and get 2 big wins this week.
Truthfully, they definitely are hot, and it's been that defense. Like, they're a team that if you watch them, they sit back. They know their sauce is the counter, and this is great for bettable because Daniel Henry was Jarvis's boy in the early part of the season. This is a scorn lover written all over this bettable. I love it.
Are we betting just on the win?
Please, let's set it up. I say well, if Jarvis, you were saying they got clean sheet potential.
Absolutely.
Brady was saying Vancouver's got the clean sheet potential. Do you want to do the bettable on which team keeps more clean sheets over the double game week?
I'll tell you what, Brady, I'll even one up you. How about we do a bettable on who scores more fantasy points, Daniel Henry or my Red Bull defender I'm about to talk about?
Deal.
Oh,
that's a good one. I like that one.
Lock it in, everybody listening. A new bettable. It's going to be a big
Jarvis,
one. So Daniel Henry against who is it?
I'm going to butcher this name. Amro Tariq.
Shout out to him.
Egyptian lad. He's a big defender for the Red Bulls. He really wasn't a consistent starter up until Week 9 versus FC Cincinnati, where he showed out, got 10 fantasy points. And then he's been playing ever since. He was a big part of the clean sheet against Atlanta. And I love the way he plays. I love the way the Red Bulls have been playing defensively these past few weeks. He's going for 6.8 mil, which is a really good value for him. And he's one of the most consistent scorers on the Red Bulls as far as like average for the weeks, because obviously he wasn't a starter at the beginning of the season. But just watch this boy play. I like the way that he plays. I think he's going to be a big part of the Red Bulls defense the rest of the season, and I think he's going to help him get a fat clean sheet this week and decimate Daniel Henry.
I like it. You know, just like you were saying, the way he plays is what's really locked him into their lineup. Last week when they were playing Atlanta down a man, he was kind of caught sleeping, and I'm kind of drawing a blank here. What the heck is Atlanta's star striker? How am I literally this special? Yeah, Joseph blew right by him, and randomly Tariq turns on the jets and just tackles him from behind perfectly to save a goal. So he's got a high engine, got a always crazy work rate. So I like this matchup. I love the bettable. I'm just going to be kicked back this week, not having to sweat a bull, and just watch you guys bet it out.
It's great. A lot of points from just clearances alone. He's like a no-nonsense kind of guy. He gets a lot of interceptions, a lot of clearances. He's
where you want him to be.
He's a Josh Jarvis kind of center back. Just he picks up his lunch pail and goes to work.
Okay, I like it.
I will say this regarding our bettable. I do like Jarvis's pick. I do like Tariq this week. I'm a little torn right here, but Daniel Henry is going to score like triple the amount of points that he has. So
okay, yeah, of course. I like it. Hopefully this is like the last bettable we did on the show against me and Jarvis, and you take both people that we told you to take, and you'll win regardless, because both of them are going to go off, but one of them is just going to edge each other a little bit more in points. So on to my first key starter of the week. It's the only one of the 3 that isn't in a double game week, and that is Jamiro Monteiro. My boy, I've talked about him many times this week, or this season in fantasy. That is the midfielder from Philly Union. Just like Brady was saying, one of the better offenses in the whole league, and they're sitting atop the East now. So they've been on fire, and ever since he came into the lineup around week 7, he came in from loan, and they really started to kind of get him into the lineup, and he started playing consistent minutes around week 7, week 8. His points in fantasy have been stupid. 9 points, 11 points, 12 points, 9 points, 6 points. He has been so consistent. He's got 2 goals, 2 assists, averaging 6 points a game in fantasy. And really this week, 8 mil, if you want a consistent midfielder, that's something we've talked about all season. There's been some of these high pricey midfielders that don't do you justice and consistency. So I think Jamiro Monteiro this week, like Brady was saying, got a great matchup against Portland. I think that's going to be a great game to watch and a great game to look at for Jamiro Monteiro. So lock it in, get him, trust me.
Hashtag ball out. Dupe.
Yeah, shout out to all the dupers out there.
Shout out to the dupe.
Could you explain to us what the heck that is? That
Nope.
just doesn't sound intimidating. Dupe, bro. Like,
Hey, bro,
all right.
dupe.
Yeah, dude, dupe it up, my guy. I'll catch you on dupe day. All right, Brady, back over to you. Who is your next key starter?
You know, continuing with my love of the Whitecaps this week, I had to get you the slot in with the goalkeeper and the defender. I'm talking about Maxime Crépin, a.k.a. the Crepe.
Ah, the crepe.
The Crepe is coming in
The
this
thin
week. A lot of the
pancake.
same reasons that I like Daniil Henry is the reason I'm loving the Crepe. This man has got 3 clean sheets this year. If he manages 1 clean sheet over this double game week, he could really go nuclear. He's going to run you 7.1 mil, but I think he's well worth it. Again, they've only lost 1 game in their last 6. They're a hot team, great defense, as Joey was popping in and adding. I'm loving Vancouver this week. They're going to shut out the Red Bulls. They're going to shut out, Amro Tarek. They're going to shut out everyone. It's just going to, He's
They're
also
having a
going to
hog
triple
roast.
Amre. They're having a hog roast this week. And join in, start your Whitecaps, the Crepe, and Daniil Henry.
Literally bring your plate to the hog roast, boys. Trust us. You're going to get filled up with the crepes, all types of good stuff.
Oh my god.
I like it. I'm sure you guys all saw that. We should have talked about this in the week recap, but what on earth was the crepe on when he saved like 5 shots from Atlanta in like 10 seconds?
That was the greatest highlight I've ever seen, to
Dog,
be honest.
he literally looked like Spider-Man.
Dude, that was
Spencer Ritchie jumped into his body in that span. He was
Wow.
everywhere. But yeah, that was ignorant, and that's another reason to start him. His defense is ridiculous. All right, Jarvis, over to you. Who's your next starter of the week?
My next starter is Big Michael Bradley for Toronto FC.
Okay.
I'm feeling Toronto's going to get back on their grind this week against San Jose. So I'm heavy on starting Toronto boys this week. I know they've had a weird few weeks, but I'm confident in Michael Bradley. I know for a fact he's getting an assist. So
Okay.
very confident in that.
Just lock it in.
Yeah, 100% lock it in. It's
Bada bowl.
a for sure thing. I'll bet a crate of bulls.
Literally,
bet a
I'll
crepe?
take that. To be honest, let me get in on these betables this week. I'll take that bet.
All right, I'll tell you what. I'll bet you a Red Bull slushy from Sonic TM.
Oh my God! Shout out to our sponsor, Red Bull Slonic Slushy.
Speedway.
Shout out to him. Yeah, dog. Shout out to them all. But yeah, big firm handshake through the mic right now. The waveform just shot up because of the power of this handshake on this Red Bull.
You just put on
Michael-
Thanos' gauntlet.
100%. Shout out to Purple Power. Michael Bradley's not getting an assist this week.
That's pretty much it, really. I think Toronto's going to get back on the grind this week. He played well these past couple of weeks still. So yeah, that's about all there is to it. Michael Bradley's really talented, and I think he's the whole team as a whole is going to get back on their winning ways. And regardless, Michael Bradley's been playing really well these past few weeks by himself. So he is getting an assist, and he's going to get some bonus points in there as well. Sprinkle in a double-digit week for Michael Bradley.
How you say I'm winning this Red Bull? That's all I'm saying. All right, over to my next key starter of the week. That is Mark the Rat Ratkowski. I'm sure that's not how you say his last name, but I just kind of want to call him Rat, the Ratkowski. He's got an RZ in the first of his name, if that tells you anything, so I'm not really butchering it that bad. Now, he's a hefty 9.2 million midfielder from the Red Bulls, but he does have the double game week this week, and he's pretty much a guy that plays almost every minute for the Red Bulls. So far in the season, he's averaged 6 points a game in fantasy, which is very nice, and he only has 1 goal, 2 assists. So he's not goal dependent, not assist dependent. He just plays really well all season. He gets you nice bonus points all around. He makes tackles, he gets interceptions, he gets the key passes, the crosses, all that stuff. And really weirdly, since week 8, he's got 5 points, 5 points, 9 points, 9 points, 5 points. So you're either going to get 5 or 9 from him. It's simple, just flip a coin. And over the next 2 games, he's going to get both, 5 and 9. So chalk him up for 14 points. It's easy. It's just math, really. It's that simple. So Mark the Ratkowski, 9.2 mil, but he does play those 2 games. And like Jarvis was saying earlier, kind of favorable matchups. Vancouver, so they're going to get shut out, obviously, because Daniil Henry, and the crepe. But then they play FCC, so who knows what the heck will happen there. So that is my second key starter of the week, the Rat from the Red Bulls. Brady, back over to you. Close it out with your key starter, your last key starter this week.
All right, lads. Hashtag dupe coming at you back again. I mentioned how I was loving this Philly and Portland matchup, as Jelly was as well. And I'm talking about Philly's striker at the moment. I'm talking about Kacper Pitzbilko, a.k.a. I don't even know.
Casper,
I mentioned
the ghost.
Casper the. All right, that's fair. I mentioned. This guy. This is a big reason why Philly is going to dominate this week. My guy's been a consistent forward over the last 5 matches, something that you can't really buy in a forward in freaking fantasy this year. Ever since he got to town, my guy has been the epitome of consistency. 9 points, 8 points, 8 points, 5 points. 2 points last week, a little outlier, but this week against a bottom 5 defense, I can see my guy Kacper coming around and dominating this week, knocking in 2, 3, maybe 4 goals. Not sure, but hashtag dupe this week. I'm loving Philly. I'm loving Montero, Joey's pick, and I'm loving Kacper up front for the dupers in Philly.
Literally dupe. You can't really say anything
Dupe
much
till I
besides
die.
dupe. Yeah, it's just a whole lot of dupe gang, you feel me? So, back over to you. Yeah, I mean, me either, but someone out there feels this. Maybe the dude in Saudi Arabia feels, he is a Philly fan. Shout out to the duper.
Hashtag dupe.
Out in the Middle East. Bless. Big shout out to you. Jarvis, over to you. Who is your third and final key starter?
We're going with Diego Rossi to get back on his grind as well. We know that he's been struggling a little bit. This week he was able to score against Dallas once in the 2 games, and had a total of 10 points for the week. However, they do play Montreal this week, and I know what you're thinking. They're third in the East, so why am I saying this? Looking at these stats, thank you for asking me. They're in third place right now with 21 points. But they have a negative 4 goal differential still. They have let in 19 goals this year, which is not close to any of the other teams in the top 5 in the East. So I think Montreal is at third right now, just based on luck, truthfully, and like matchups. I mean, they obviously with a negative 4 goal differential, they shouldn't be third in the East, but they let in a lot of goals, and LAFC scores a lot of goals. So by that math, LAFC is going to score several goals in this game, and Diego Rossi is going to be getting involved. Obviously, I'm sure we'll talk about Big Carlos later, but he'll be getting involved as well. But Diego Rossi always has the chance, to be assisting Carlos, to score himself. So, I mean, that offense is so lethal. And he's only at $9 million right now, which is not crazy for him at all. He's dropped in the year $500K. But yeah, he struggled a bit, but he's getting back to some scoring ways this week at home versus Montreal.
How dare you slander my surrogate team in Montreal?
Brady, I'm going to fight you, IRL.
The only reason they have a negative goal differential is because they got blasted 7-1 to Sporting KC.
That didn't
bad
happen.
News is LAFC is better than Sporting KC.
That's very true. I can't deny that. They're going to get destroyed, but how dare you still?
I was about to say, LAFC is also the team that took DC to the cleaners when DC only allowed like 1 goal so far.
Oh, yeah, they're going to...
It's so weird.
It's going to be a romp.
It's so bad. Yeah, I'm definitely on that side. LAFC, literally greater than anyone. Can we just, when the All-Star game comes, can LAFC also just play against Atletico and just see what happens? Just see if they can lose by less than like 1.
That'd be like a good game.
Be better. It'd probably be better and closer than just putting out the All-Star team.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they've got like chemistry.
Yeah, exactly. And Bob Bradley would be the coach, so of course it's better.
Bobby B.
I like it. Shout out to him. So, closing out the starters of the week, that's my last pick. And, I hope you guys have paid attention. I had 1 Red Bull and 1 coming up from the Whitecaps, because I'm just sitting on the fence with this bettable with Jarvis and Brady. I know how to play my cards, okay? And that is defender for the Whitecaps, Eric Godoy. Shout out to his last name, because it sounds like, I don't even know. Shout out to Godoy one time. He's been very consistent in fantasy. He's going for 7.7 million, but, double game week, so it's worth it. He's played over 1,100 minutes this season for the Whitecaps, so literally he's played 90 every single game. Like, he's just been there. So he's had only 2 games this season where he's had less than 3 points, and that's just 2 points because, when defenders let in goals, that seems to happen. But he's also had 4 games over double digits and only 3 clean sheets. So do the math. He's not too clean sheet dependent, but Brady was saying earlier, he sniffs out 2 clean sheets for the Whitecaps potentially, so here's another good option to pair with some Whitecap defenders from earlier. Like I said, $7.7 million. He does have a goal on the season, and he does have 3 clean sheets. He's averaging close to 5.5 points in fantasy, so he's pretty solid, very consistent, and a double game week always helps you out in fantasy. So that is my final pick for the key starter, Eric Godoy. Shout out to him. That'll wrap it up for the key starters, and now over to a great segment. That's the Captain's Log. Short and simple, just to put the cherry on top of the episode. This is where we tell you who you gotta slap the armband on and why. So Brady, kick it off. Who's your captain? Is it a shock?
It's not a shock. I mean, I'm going with Carlos Vela. He's playing against Montreal, as Jarvis just said, and as we just mentioned, it's probably going to be, at least a 2-goal differential. They're going to win by at least 2 goals. My guy, last 3 games, 11 points, 10 points, 15 points. Last week of the double game week, 25. Put up 50 if you put the armband on him.
What's wrong?
He kind of struggled for a little bit at the end of April. 3 points, 8 points, 5 points. But right back to his scoring ways, right back to his dominant ways. This man's pretty much going to wrap up the highest score in fantasy by the halfway mark in the year. So, easy pick, Carlos Vela.
Yeah, it's really hard to go against him because still, this week, looking at the all total fantasy points, he's still a fat, almost 60 points up on the leader. He's about 50-something, 55, so, that's pretty bad if you got 55 points on the guy in second. So shout out to Carlos. He's been, just a god amongst men on the pitch. Yeah, pretty much. Jarvis, over to you. Who's your captain's pick?
So mine is also not a big shock. I'm going with Wayne Rooney.
Yay.
Based on matchup, he's playing away, but it is New England, so I am definitely feeling Wayne Rooney v. New England. We know Wayne Rooney's been going off this year. Even in his older age, he's still able to put him in the back of the net on these boys. So $10.7 million, not too crazy for a striker like Wayne Rooney, but yeah, Wayne Rooney against New England is going to be a slaughter, I think.
I love it.
All right, I like it. Yeah, he's still top 10 in overall fantasy scoring, even with that red card, that injury he had in the early season. So he's balling, obviously. And to continue on this trend, mine's kind of a weird pick, maybe someone that you're not thinking of for a captain's pick, but he's 3rd overall in scoring and 1 behind second place, and that is another boy from LAFC, Edward Atuesta. Brady's talked about him in the season before. He's been very consistent and has just been balling in the midfield for him. He's averaging 7.5 points in fantasy. He's going for $11.2 million, so it's hefty, but I mean, you can't really argue with these numbers. He only has 1 goal, so he's not goal dependent, but he's got 5 assists. He's just such a nice creator for LAFC. Just to add with Carlos, it's pretty disgusting. He's had some crazy games on the year, over 20 points, but he's just so rock solid. It's hard to go against it. So if you want kind of a hipster pick, an outsider pick, last episode me and Jarvis said we might add in a segment about hipster captain pick. So here it is. It's Atuesta for you. Slap the band on him if you just want to be different, but if you want to be a normal person, just give it to Carlos Vela, okay? Just do that. Trust me. But yeah, that's the 3 captains pick for you. 2 LAFC boys and Wazza, Wayne Rooney out here balling. So that'll do it for episode 19 of On the Bounce. Going into the outro, anything else you guys want to touch on, or anything else we forgot about that you want to mention before we wrap it up?
Keep an eye on Atuesta. He is a right knee sprain, and he's probable, but just in case.
Of course. Keep your peepers on him. Always look out for those lineups, boys. You never want to miss out on anything. But I can't think of anything else I want to talk about before we close it out. Anybody else? Or are we good to go?
I'm good.
All right.
Yeah.
So that'll do it for episode 19 of On the Bounce. A big thank you to everybody that's been listening so far. We're loving it. Almost 20 episodes in. We might do something big for episode 20. Spoiler alert, probably not. So we'll see you guys back here, episode 20, Wednesday. We're going to keep these weekly ones rolling until you send us hate mail. So get on it. Hit us up on Twitter. For me, JK, Brady Gravy the Gaffer, and Josh the Hog Jarvis, we'll see you guys back here. Enjoy your week. Have a good weekend. And watch some MLS. Deuces.